Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here with a request that's come via my comments, to be honest with you. The request was from @Lillian Mederek 1507. Lillian, I apologise now, I probably just murdered your name. And it was on the back of a video that was ephemera box flip through subscriber request. I will put a link to the original video in because I know you're going to ask me for it. Anyway, in that video I did a flip through of my ephemera box. It was about a year ago, and within that flip through there was one set of cards, these ones, which I said there isn't a video for. And this is what Lillian spotted. And Lillian asked me whether I could show how to make them. Now, there isn't a video already because I made these as a bit of a tester for my own self to see whether I could do what I wanted to do, and I wasn't happy with the results. I did mainly with butterflies, and I even tried it with a Tim Holtz person as well. And I'll tell you why I didn't like it, just so you know, because this video, by the end of it, you're probably going to go, really? Just so you know. Okay. I used packaging tape as the screen over the top of what was underneath it. So I thought that was going to be a clever idea, but what it does, if you can see here, if you've got a thicker image, it doesn't lay flat. If you've got something like this was a napkin stuck to book page, it does, but still it doesn't give a really smooth look. This was something stuck to the plastic, or whatever that is, probably a bit of glue. This was a card, no, it was a fuzzy cut butterfly. Again, you get this edge around, and no matter how much I press it down, I mean, the napkin ones gave me the best result. This was a clear sticker. As you can see, it has a ridge around it, napkin. That was a paper butterfly, sticker, napkin again. So I tried, these are in my stash. I possibly would use them, but would I make more of them? No, it didn't work for me. I could have used acetate, which would have been a bit thicker, which wouldn't have given me that that effect there. But the whole reason for doing them with packing tape is I was trying to find something that was readily available to everyone and inexpensive, and most people would already probably have some either within their household or in the pound store or the dollar store. So, but it was an experiment I did for myself. Also, it's quite a long-winded process to make this if you don't have a craft punch and you don't have a craft die that can cut you a perfect square. And I'm going to do this with basic equipment. So I'm not going to use a craft punch to make the hole, not going to use a die either. I'm just going to keep it as basic as I can. I'm also not going to sew around it with the sewing machine this time, because if someone does like this idea, if I can show you what these look like, which I have, and I can show you a method for not using a sewing machine, that's probably going to be much more appreciated. So anyway, there's lots of measuring. I'm going to tell you what the measurements are. However, it will completely depend on you as to what packaging tape you're using. Now, the key thing is the width of your packaging tape. You need to know this because, let's see, this is 5 centimeters or 2 inches wide. Now, the reason this is important is because that's the maximum width of coverage that I'm going to get from my packaging tape. So this dictates the size of the aperture, which I've made myself a little template just ever so fractionally smaller in width than that. It's tricky, guys. This is why I don't do them. Also, you need to understand that if that's the width of your packaging tape versus the window, there isn't a lot of wiggle room, so if I do that one, on either side of the window for you to glue or sew. The other thing, and this is the one thing that really, really was hard to do, is if this is my template, trying to find things that would fit within it was tricky. I found butterfly stickers were okay. Real struggle though finding butterfly stickers that absolutely filled it entirely. You could use book page butterflies. You could use flowers. As you saw, I did a Tim Holtz man on one of them. I mean, I basically went in and found one and cut him down, but they're a bit thick and they gave me the worst result. So anyway, let's get on with it. Right. So I'm going to use my originals as sort of a guide. So first of all, I need to have card. Now this is going to end up with about 4 layers of stuff within it. So I used and use quite soft card. You could even go far as using like a heavyweight paper for this, because once you put 4 layers on, it becomes quite substantial. I mean, these are now card, but they were actually made with this depth. So let's see, how wide did I make this? Like 2.5 inches wide. Right, so I need 2 panels 2.5 inches wide. Let's get up my little chopper thingy. First of all, I want to make sure that one edge is straight before I assume the other edge is straight. Right, 2.5 is that 2.5? That doesn't look like 2.5. Sorry guys, it's one of those days. 2.5 is going to be the central. That can't be right. Sorry, why am I having a moment with this? 2.5 is about there, that's why. See, meltdown moment. Right. So this should now be 2.5. 2.5 at the top. 2.5 at the bottom. Let's just, I don't need that one at the moment, I don't think. I think I'm going to in a minute though. Right, and how long was this? That's probably about 3.5. 3.5, how's that for a guess, Griffiths? So 3.5. So therefore that should now be the same size as that. Right, so this is 2.5 by 3.5. Now, I'm going to do the same thing and make myself a second one of these. Hopefully less painfully than I've just made that one. I sometimes get confused as to where the half mark is on these, obviously. Right, those two are the same size. So that's the start of the build of this. Let's put that to one side. Take that out of the way and go back in the scrap drawer. So now we've got this to start with. I've decided that this is going to be the inside and this is going to be the outside. Or have I? No, I've decided that's going to be the outside and that's going to be the inside. Okay, purely because this will colour up quite nicely. Now I know that I have to cut a 2-inch window in this. So what I did is I've made a template. This is just fractionally smaller than 2 inches. See, it's like is that an eighth, 1/8 smaller all the way around. And I've done that purely because I know that when I'm actually cutting these or drawing around them, I'm going to have to, the pencil will go on the outside. So I'm going to visually put that in the middle. You can get really picky and you can work out the distance there and there. I'm just eyeballing it. I'll leave the absolutely everything else to you. I'm going to get myself a pencil and I'm just going to put lines along here. Now remember, they're pencil, so I can actually rub them out afterwards. Oh, come on, Griffiths, get it together. Yeah, some things I make and I never show you guys purely because I don't believe they're going to be good enough for you. Right, so I've got, that's my template, that's already marked. Now I want to do another couple of things. I'm going to get this just a bit of coffee dye paper. I'm going to come in and what I want to do is I want to tear a piece of coffee dyed paper just ever so slightly bigger than I need. It'll all become absolutely apparent when we get there. And I'm only leaving a smidgen larger. As you can see, It's just a little bit around the edge. I could even have taken that off if I want. So that's another element. I'm also going to need a bit of coffee dyed paper for the back of this, should I choose to put a back on it, which I may well do actually. I think I didn't with the others, I can't remember. So it's just a place where you could write on the back if you chose to. That's on there. A little bit up from there. As I said, this is very much, it's labour intensive. I've probably said that far too many times already. Right, I'm going to come in immediately and I'm going to ink around the edges of this. This is Distress Ink Vintage Photo by Tim Holtz for Ranger. You can use whichever inks or not you wish to use. And I'm also going to go around this, and there's a reason for that, because it may never be seen, but then it may, in case it may be. And that may not make sense until I actually show you what we're doing with it. So that's my first bit done. This can get stuck down, so I need a bit of sticky paper. Actually, that will do. I've got a bit of waste paper here. Right, so that was the inside top. That's, so I need to get my head around this. So this needs to become the outside. So bear with me, guys. It's been a year since I've made one of these. It's not even in my idea book anymore. I think I've seen someone doing these before, which is maybe where I got the idea. And they might have done it with acetate. And I went, oh, can you do that with packing tape? Because that's the way my brain works. If I see one thing, I'll go, oh, can I do it in another way? Right, so that's now the back of, no, that's now the back of our, whatever this is going to be called. And I don't even know what it's going to be called. Just take that little bit of pencil off there. Right. Now I'm going to address this bit next. I'm going to address putting the lid on this next. Now, because my butterfly is going to eventually be stuck to this, I want to make it a little prettier than it is at the moment. So let's actually bring back that. And all I'm going to do is I'm just taking a text stamp. This is part of a Tim Holtz text stamp or script stamp. And I'm going to use coffee. I find coffee less dominating on coffee dyed paper. So I just want a bit of interest on the paper behind it. There you go. That's enough of that. I'll put that back in the bag afterwards. So you can see where we're going. So this is eventually going to be behind here, but we now need to cut that out. This is where it gets a bit tricky if you do not have a 2-inch craft punch that's square, or you don't have a die machine. Like I've got a Big Shot. I do have a 2-inch square die, but not everyone does, so we're not going to do it that way. Now, I'm going to use a metal knife and a sharp craft knife. Now, what I tend to do is I tend to line it up on the line, there to there. Hopefully, you see, I'll try and zoom in when I'm editing, and I want to cut along that line. I try not to go past the end of the line, because if you do that, you end up with little nicks in it, in the corners. Not a huge problem, but it could be if it's not what you wanted. Right. And obviously we're all adults here, so please be careful with the knife. It's very hard to craft if you've cut a finger off. This is another reason why I actually like to use thinner paper for this as well, because it cuts a lot easier. I've never been successful cutting one of these out with a pair of scissors. I know there is a way you can make a hole in the middle with scissors, cut to the corners and then cut across. It doesn't work for me. I'm not that accurate with the scissors. Right? I don't think this is going to come out because I've got a feeling that corner's okay. It's this corner. I haven't cut all the way to the end. Now, if you're someone who likes this idea, keep this bit as a spare template. which is how this template was made. So now I've got this on here, I can gently come in and rub away any pencil marks that I've got left on here. I mean, there's more marks than just pencil on there because it's a bit of an old, it was a piece of scrap, to be honest with you. So now what I've got to do is, where's my back? I now have the two pieces that go together. I now need to get my piece into the middle of here so that it's squared off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring in that pencil again, wherever it's gone, and I'm just going to make sure it's all lined up with itself. This is why I said it's labor intensive. It's just, and it's fiddly as all heck when I do it. As I said, this is why I'm not keen on this. Although I have, since doing this, I have seen a metal die that does something very similar than this, and I never had the metal die. So this was me just attempting to get it right. Right, I can see here now where this is going to be. So I'm now going to stick this on, and when it's on there, I'm going to slide it back and forth. I'm using a glue stick. I'm using a glue stick on purpose because the glue stick gives me some sliding ability. Right, make sure you got it the right way up, because goodness knows I've stuck it on the upside down before now. So as you can see, I'm just leaving a little gap just so I can slide that up. I can look under here to see whether I'm lined up on the edges, and I'm as near as darn it. So I'm not going to worry about that. That's worked for me. And just as a tester, I can now come in and go, right, will that work? And it does work. Now, this is where things get even fiddlier for me. I now want to put my butterfly sticker into the middle of this. Now, the only way I kind of found out that I can put it in here is actually just by the method I'm going to use. Now, this is a bit wide for me. I don't think you can see the plastic. The edge is too wide, so you can either cut it off or leave it on. Your call. For this exercise, I'm just going to leave it on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, excuse my arm. I'm going to get myself a couple of paper clips just to hold the bottom of this in place. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this up and place the thing down into it. Let's see if I get it. Oh, that was a good call, Griffiths. That doesn't normally happen. So I kind of work out where it needs to be. It's probably about there. I could put glue stick on here. Wow, that was a good guess. Right, as soon as I've got it at that point, take these off and press it down so that it doesn't move. The reason I take this off is because these plastic pieces were overlapping here. I don't want them stuck down on it. Now, the way I would have done this eventually is, if I wasn't using packing tape, I could always then have just stuck those together and left that as is. Okay, just so you know what's going to happen. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to put a little bit of vintage photo on the inside of this. Just, it frames it out. It just gives it a bit of definition. We're going to vintage photo the whole thing eventually anyway. Right, that goes on there, that goes on there. Now, next fiddly bit. There's lots of fiddly bits going on. Spare butterfly. We now need to put a piece of tape onto here. Okay? We have to make sure it's centralized onto here, which is not easy when it's a roll of tape. Also, you may see when you pull tape, sometimes you get these marks on it. I never found a way of getting rid of those marks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that off so it's kind of a straight edge. I'm going to start, I've got so much stuff on this desk, I can't work like this. Right, I'm going to start by putting it on here. This is going to drive me a bit nuts. Let me just hold it down with a bit of washi tape so it doesn't move around on me. Right, what I'm trying to do is the top edge of the tape needs to go just under the top edge of the aperture. It's hard to do seeing through an iPad. Sorry, guys. I made a botch up of that one. Right, and then I'm going to cut this off. Shy of there. Always fold over the end of the tape, or you get thrown out of my studio. Right, so let's show you where we're at. I have now got a problem at the top here, so if I really burnish this down, I might be able to get rid of some of that crease in the tape, but I do struggle with that. But as you can see, we've got creases in the top. Keeping it real as always, guys, that happens occasionally. The trouble is when that happens, you need to throw this away and start again. So again, another reason, right? I peeled up a bit of that with the tape, didn't I? So let's try to take that off. Now, the reason I was so picky about not putting tape all the way to this top edge or all the way to the bottom is because if I now stick the top piece on with glue and it's onto sellotape or packing tape, it's probably not going to stick properly. And I want it to stick properly. So I'm going to use Art Glitter Glue. This is the brand I'm talking about. Most of us are probably familiar. Now I use the glue on this one, not the back of that one. And I go all the way around the edges of the image. And then I go around the edge of here as well. Then, because it's Art Glitter Glue, move with a purpose. Because once it's on, it's on. Do your best to line it all up. If you're going to squish it in any way, direction whatsoever, squish from the inside to the outside. It's more beneficial if the glue moves away from the image, closer to the edges. You'll get a nicer finish. Let's just put the pin back in that. So this has given us the basis. Now, there are things I could potentially do up here. I could put a sticker across the top. I could put a label. It depends on how much I want to play with that whole idea. So this gives us writing space, gives us the background, gives us this, plus a tape over the top, and we're almost ready to go. Now, because I sewed this one, I kept the corners straight. I actually quite like these with rounded corners. So I come in with the smallest rounder that I've got. Right, that makes it a little more pleasant for me. And we'll go around it afterwards after we've done the next bit. Now, next what I would say, let's move that over there so I can use the back, is dig out all your small stickers and numbers and things like that. I mean, I've just pulled out some Tracy Fox, some stuff that came in Happy Mail, I think, just stuff, basically. And you're looking for small stuff that you can stick down onto here. So I always like to use something that looks like a botanical thing or something you'd see in a museum per se. Something like this. These are just Tracy Fox labels. Tracy Fox is Love Junk Journals on Etsy, and this is why I buy them. They're a digital download. There's quite a few labels that Tracy does. I've got several of her kits and they've never let me down. I've always found something to put on there that I've really loved. So let's put that there. Let's just get this one down. Now, how you decorate is completely up to you. You can take them as far as you want or as little as you want. So I'm just going to bring that right in the middle there as if it is a sample. Or specimen card, should I call it. Then I'm going to come in and play around with other stuff. Like, if you look at this, I really like that number, so I think I'm going to take that number out of there. Just cannibalizing the number there. A little bit of ink around the edges. And although I can't cover up this mistake completely, I can certainly do a little bit of a job of covering it up. So what I'm going to do is this number, and I'm going to use Art Glitter Glue for this. I'm going to tuck that number in up there. So already it's starting to help me cover up the fact that I've got a crease, although I'm never going to get that completely gone, but it might just make it look a little bit aesthetically pleasing. Come on, Griffiths, get together. There you go. Right, these scraps can go somewhere else because they're in my way. So let's have a little look at what else I could potentially put on here. I like to load things, as in loading, I mean lots of things on here. P.O. Box, is that a label? It is. I thought it might have been a sticker. Right. That's about the right colours as well. Looks a little bit big. So I'm not sure you can see me down here. Now you can also come in and do like date stamping across the top, stuff like that. Is that a sticker? I was feeling some of these were stickers. That is a sticker, right. So a sticker, I don't trust stickers. So I know the stickers and they're supposed to be sticky, but I've been let down many a times by a sticky sticker. Come in there. I'm going to have it on a bit of a jaunty. That's 3 of them. I'd quite like a number down there. A number? That's a number. It's too big of a number. Let me have a little look. That's a bit much. All right, bear with me, guys. I'm going to... Oh, wait, what's that? Well, that's that P.O. Box number thing again, isn't it? Are we sure that's not a sticker? No, it's not, but it's going to get inked around the edges. And it's gonna go on, people. It's gonna go on. It's getting dark out there. It might be in for some rain. It's been raining most of the day. Now, if you don't have a sewing machine, you can always use a fine marker and actually outline this with little dashes in a fine marker. There are cling stamps out there that I've seen that will give you the illusion of a stitched edge as well. So there are options. Just move that one to one side. Now I'm going to come in, and usually I find once I do the ink on it, it really does change its character. And even though I've done the panel on the back, I always go around the edges as well. So as you can see, that's the basics of it, guys. I'm not overly keen on that, to be honest. I'm wondering whether I can get it back off there. Yes, I can. Right, let me have a think. I want to do something different there. Let me just take away that glue. I've got an idea. Right, bear with me, need to get a stamp. So right, I've just rooted through my stamp sets, and this is the sheet of the cover sheet for the silicone stamps, the cling stamps. So look for this sort of thing on the internet. I'm almost certain Tim Holtz has a version of it. I can't remember. I think Stamperia may have them. And I think the clear stamps were by Gabrielle, and they're called line stitch stamps. And I'm sure, I've had them a long time, guys, so I think that's who they were. Right, I wanted to come in, let's bring that in, it doesn't matter if I stamp on that. And I've got some red ink, and I've got in some Tim Holtz, right, there's a filed, the word filed, F-I-L-E-D. And I'm just going to come across there. Now, because going across plastic, it's going to take a little while to dry. So just be aware of that. And then usually I put the word things like, oh, there you go. I'm wondering whether to do a postage, a franking stamp on there. I think this franking stamp might be a bit, actually, no, if it's over there, it won't be. I'm a person who likes layers, obviously. I feel I just want something there. I'm trying to do 3 of some things. Let's just do this one. This is just a number. Hopefully with this much going on this card, you wouldn't notice there's a crease in it, or you can just call it being vintage. So let's clear the decks a little bit. So hopefully, Lillian, that was what you were expecting. As I said, I haven't made them since I made the first batch, and we'll do another quick flick through of those in a minute. So there you go. That's how I made it. I find the tape, the really annoying bit, because as you can see, I've even got some bubbles under here, which I might be able to get worked out, but I doubt it. So not my favorite thing to do, but that is how I did them. The only difference with these are, obviously I used different background papers. I sewed around them and I didn't chop the corners. So there you go, guys. This is just a bit of a flick through of the previous ones to show you sort of what I would do with them as far as layouts and stuff like that. But your choice. You've seen how fiddly and labour intensive they are. They could be something you go, oh, I really want to do that. As I said, I'm sure I have seen on eBay and Amazon, there is now a die that gives you, it's almost like a book. So the hole is cut and then you just fold it across and glue it down. Probably the best thing to use for that is probably acetate, not packaging tape. So when you get a Christmas present, birthday present, anything that's got acetate on, even some of your grocery shopping may have an acetate window in its packaging. Take the acetate window out, if of course it's safe to do so food-wise, and then use it for the window instead. You can always glue the acetate to the inside of here. If you're sewing, the sewing will hold the acetate in as well. So there you go, guys. As I said, Lillian, I hope that answered your question. Not one of my favorite makes, a bit too labor intensive, but you make of it what you will. Maybe you can take something from that idea, turn it around and use it for yourself in the future. Okay, I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time, goodbye now.